Hello everyone and welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrew and today we're going to be talking about doing convincing sky replacements in Luminar AI. Now, Vanelli was supposed to be with you today, but he ended up with a conflicting appointment. All is well in his world, but you have me today instead of him, so I hope that's okay. We're going to be working with a really beautiful image and I'll show you how to make sure your sky replacements look so amazing that nobody will be able to tell that you swapped in a new sky. I want to take a quick moment and say hello to Pat, hello Gary, or Jerry. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so forgive me. I'm glad you're both here today. Welcome to everyone else who is going to be popping in throughout the episode. Hey Russ, good to see you. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. So we've got this beautiful image from one of our ambassadors, and I'm gonna guess this was taken up in the Canadian Rockies somewhere. I don't know that for sure, but that's just what the feel is to me. And it's just so incredibly beautiful. Bonsoir, JGmail28. Glad you're able to be here. All right, let's take a look at the before and then the after. So you can see I did a lot of work to this image, but I mean, it started out really beautiful, but then we really kicked it up a notch when we put in that new beautiful sky. So let me show you exactly what I did here. I'm gonna go ahead and right click on my image, go down to adjustments and revert to the original, and then I'll walk you through everything I did. So here's our original unedited photo. I'm gonna start with a template, and I'm here in the templates tab and in the for this photo section. Now I'm gonna go ahead and scroll over to waterscapes because that seems like a good fit for this image. I tried out several different templates for this photo and I settled on deep focus. It just makes so many of the details in this image come to life. It brings out a lot of detail here on this rock face, this mountain, opens up the shadows. Really great starting point. Now let's go ahead and get to work on making this a little bit creatively better. I'm gonna go over to my edit tab first, and we'll start with our Enhance AI. And you can see that the template already brought that up quite a bit. I'm gonna bring that up a little bit more. Again, that's gonna open up shadows, make some of those colors pop, add a bit of contrast. Overall, all the good things. Now let's go to our Composition AI and see if we can refine our composition a little bit. Let's see what the AI wants to do by hitting the Composition AI button and see what's recommended for us. I think that's pretty good. It took out this little distracting building over there on the right. I kind of feel like it took off a little too much of our sky though. I'm gonna pull this back out a bit further, maybe to right about there, and I think that looks really good. Now I'm looking at this and I also kind of feel like there's maybe a little bit of a tilt to this. I'm not quite sure because it's hard to line up where the horizon is, and then we have all of the docks and the boats kind of at angles as well, and that's just going to be, you know, the wind, the water, the waves, all of those things taken into consideration. So in an instance like this, if we're going to do any rotate, we have to do what just feels best. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this ever so slightly, maybe right about there. Let me hit return on my keyboard. Let's take a look what that looks like. There we go. Almost there. Okay, there we go. I think that looks really good. Let's go ahead and continue working on this. Let's go down and see what our structure settings are, because the template added some. It actually added quite a bit. It added the boost. Now I'm looking at the water, and the water to me specifically looks a little over detailed. I think that's where the boost is happening. I'm going to go ahead and pull that back a little bit, and it's just going to soften up some of those finer details, but we don't lose that mid-tone contrast that we added with the amount slider. So I'll go ahead and roll with that. I'm also going to go down to our landscape tool, add some golden hour, and pull that up a little bit, and that's just going to intensify those colors that are over here on this hillside, where you can see the sunlight's hitting those beautiful golden trees, warm up some of these tones down here in the bottom. That's looking really good. Now let's go ahead and jump down to our sky replacement. I'm going to go down to the creative section and into Sky AI. Now let's go ahead and start with our sky selection. I've got a bunch of skies here that are already preloaded. These ones that are marked _LX are from the Luminar X membership. It's an optional add-on membership for Luminar owners where you can get skies and all sorts of other good stuff. I encourage you to check that out if that's something that interests you. So I have a whole bunch of these already installed. Let me go ahead and scroll down. I tried a whole bunch of different ones, and let's see, where did I end up? I ended up on Coral Sunrise 01. Let's try a few others so we can see what works and what doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and start with Colorful Sunrise 1 and let that load up. And what you really want to pay attention to first and foremost is the direction of the light. So we have a really obvious direction of light, and this one actually works okay. We have our brightness, our light source, our sun coming in from the left, and it's very conceivable that it would be hitting that hillside right there. Let's go ahead and try another one. I'm going to try Colorful Sunrise 2. Go ahead and give that a moment to load up. Now, looking at this one, the colors don't really blend. There's no definite light source coming in from the left. We don't get those warm tones coming in and hitting that hillside. So this doesn't work at all. Let's try a couple more and see what we find. I'm going to go ahead and jump down to Dramatic Sunrise 01 and let that load up. Give that just a moment. And that doesn't work at all, and we actually have some of the bleed through of our old clouds coming through. And again, if we look at that light source, I'm going to go ahead and pull that Sky Global up and the closed gaps and that Sky Local. See if we can get rid of some of that there. Yeah, that sky just doesn't work at all with this image. All right, so let me go down. Let's try Streaky Sunrise 1. Go ahead and give that a second to load. There we go. And that one kind of works. I mean, our light source is off to the left, but it's not really strong enough to be causing these dramatic shadows as they're going across this rock face and hitting this hillside on the right. I'm going to go ahead and go back to one that I found that I really, really liked, which was this Coral Sunrise 1. So let's go ahead and load that up. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and reset my Sky Global, close gaps, and Sky Local, because those settings actually with the default worked really well. Now let me take a look here at our chat and see what we've got going on over here. All right, hello Manuel, hello Rich, and Eddie, glad you guys are here. Rich says, I've purchased several sky replacements but can't load any but the amazing looks. I think the others are just a folder with files. How do I install these? Rich, that's a great question. So when you download a folder of skies, you're going to get a bunch of JPEGs, sometimes TIFF files, but they're all going to be image files. What you do is you go up here to your sky selection dropdown. You go all the way up here to the top to show custom skies, and this is going to open up a folder on your hard drive that's part of the Luminar AI software. And so we have skies and then custom, and you'll see inside custom I have several different folders, including one that I made myself, which is called My Favorite Skies. So what you need to do is grab that folder of images and drag it from your downloads folder or wherever you have it at the moment into this folder. And then you'll be able to find those under the sky selection drop-down menu. Hope that helps, Rich. All right, Gary or Jerry is asking if there's a limit on the number of skies you can have. There's no specific limit, but we do recommend keeping your installed custom skies to 50 or fewer unless you have a very high-powered machine. The more skies you add, it does have the tendency to lag down your computer, bog it down a little bit. So if you start noticing some performance issues with Luminar AI after installing a bunch of skies, you might want to pull some of those off and just keep your absolute favorites in there. You can always keep a separate folder outside of the software that you can access by going all the way down to the very bottom of this dropdown to load custom sky image, and that'll take you to your hard drive, and you can navigate to wherever you have those skies kept. So if you have a huge library, sometimes that's a better way to do it. Let's take a look and see what else we find here. I haven't noticed nearly as many skies in the Luminar X site. Is there a way to find all of them that are available? Good question, Pat. What I would say is go to your Skylum account, into the Luminar X membership tab, and everything that's available to you will be showing there. For each delivery you have, you should be getting a pack of templates or looks and a pack of skies. Sometimes there's other assets available too, but you should at least have those two things for each delivery. So if you've been a member for 3 months, you should have 3 packs of skies available to you. All right, hope that helps. Let's go ahead and continue working on this image and really make it awesome. So we've got a good direction of light. We have a good color match in what's hitting this hillside here, the warmth coming through. All right, now I do see we have some really beautiful pinks up here, and I want to bring in some of the light that's in the sky throughout the rest of the image, and that's where Relight Scene comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up quite strong, and you'll see those warm pink tones start hitting the rest of the image. And it makes that whole blend look much more seamless, much more realistic. Now, if the light was coming from this direction, but we wanted it over here, you can always do flip sky. Sky defocus is very important if you're working with a shallow depth of field. you want to make sure your sky's depth of field matches the rest of your image. So for instance, let's say you have a flower as your subject, and it's a very, very soft, blurry background, and you can see the sky back there, but it's very distant. You want to make sure you defocus that sky to match, because if you have crisp clouds, a blurred background, and then a crisp subject, it's going to be a dead giveaway that this was not captured in camera. So one thing you want to take consideration there is your focus. In this case, we've got a very clear depth of field all the way through the image. So I'm going to go ahead and leave sky defocus off. We can further adjust this by adding some atmospheric haze, which I don't really think this needs. We can warm it up a little bit more. I don't think it really needs a whole lot of that. And then the sky exposure, I might even actually pull that down a little bit, darken it up a little bit, and there we go. It's looking beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and add a couple of other final touches to this image now that we have it looking really good. One thing we can do to really make that sky that we added fit with the image is adding some sun rays. Now, the key to adding sun rays is you don't want people to know you added sun rays. Again, same kind of thing with the sky replacement. You don't want people to know you did a sky replacement. So let's go ahead, we'll pull the amount slider up pretty high. I'm gonna go ahead and click place sun center, and we get a dot here that lets us position where we want that. Now our sun is naturally up here off of the screen to the left. I'm gonna move that around so those rays look like they're actually hitting that hillside. And that right now, so we've got the direction of the light good, we've got our rays looking pretty good, but they're very white compared to the light in the rest of the image. We fix that by going down to the warmth section, grabbing that sun rays warmth, and just warming those up so the light matches. There we go. And then we can go back up to our mount slider and pull that back to where it looks natural. It doesn't look like we added anything. It just further enhances that direction of the light and very much makes the scene believable. Now, another thing I like to do in a lot of images, especially images like this where we've got these beautiful colors and the gorgeous light, I love the mystical tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some mystical. And this kind of softens some of the edges. It adds kind of a hint of a sort of glow. It's really beautiful. And then I like to come down into colorize. And again, because we're really trying to pull out all those gorgeous warm tones, I'm gonna pull up my warmth slider as well. And that's just gonna warm up that glow that we just added. Now for my final touch, I'm gonna go back up to the top to our vignette tool, and let's go ahead and darken our edges a little bit just to draw our viewer into the scene. So I'll grab my amount slider, I'll pull that all the way down to -100. I like the size of that, I think it looks good. The roundness looks good. Feather, I always like to pull that up so we have a nice smooth transition. And inner light, I might add a tiny bit of that just to kind of bring a little bit more depth and dimension here to the middle of the image. And then I'll grab my amount slider and pull that back, move it back and forth until it looks natural. And I think right about there is just about perfect. So let's take a look at our overall before and our after. We've completely changed the mood and the feel of this image, mostly by popping in that sky and then working with those warm tones that were already there. If you notice, we have those warm tones that are already on that hillside to the right. The boats in the foreground already have that warmth. We just really made them come alive with our adjustments. So I hope you guys enjoyed this demo, and I hope it helps you with your sky replacements so you can end up with really awesome looking sky replacements that only you know that you did. I also encourage you, in addition to getting something like Luminar X, where you get to have all these different assets, to build your own sky library. If you're a member of a camera club or other camera photo competitions, a lot of times when you composite things together, those competitions have regulations that every element has to be your own creation. So when you're submitting something for competition, you want to make sure that sky that you pop in there is also your own sky. In some instances with certain competitions, using one of Luminar's skies or one from Luminar X membership would not be allowed. So I encourage you, build your own sky library. There's nothing like being able to put an image together and have every element in there be 100% your own. So I hope that was helpful, everybody. Let me take a look here one more time at the chat, make sure there's nothing that I'm missing. Looks good. Let's see here. Manuel's saying that sometimes in architecture, the AI doesn't recognize white walls and puts the sky on those areas, and you have to paint manually. That is something that happens once in a while. I've even noticed it with like a lighthouse. When we have a white lighthouse and you're replacing the sky around it, sometimes that sky texture does end up on the lighthouse. You can use, let me go here, scroll down a little bit. In our Sky AI, the ones you'll want to work on if you're having that happen are Sky Global, Close Gaps, and Sky Local. Work with those sliders. That should get rid of it most of the time. If you have trouble, you can always use the masking tool to go ahead and paint that effect out. The one thing I want to caution you with that is if you've used Relight, that masking is going to be very, very obvious. So if you come across an instance where these tools aren't getting it done, you have a white subject and you're doing your sky replacement and it's getting that sky, send that image to our support team, support@skylum.com, so our developers can take a look at that. The best images like that, we can use them to further train the AI and make that tool even better in the future. So send those images in. If you come across stuff that is just not working, you can't get it right, we'll gladly help you. We'll give you settings if we can. And the worst thing is that we use it to train the AI and make the tool better. So thank you in advance for any help you give us with that. It's much appreciated, and I hope that helps you, Manuel. Let's take a quick look here one more time. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. I will see you again tomorrow. Get out there, make some photos, and have fun. Bye, everyone.